What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another off-season episode of the Mets'd podcast. We got a lot coming at you. There's actually, surprisingly, a lot of Mets news to talk about that we're excited to actually be talking about the Mets at this point, as well as we're going to do a little World Series preview for you because, as you know, it's going to be Diamondbacks who, thank goodness, beat the Philadelphia Phillies going up against the Texas Rangers in the World Series. We're going to preview that entire matchup for you guys, too. So if you like what you're listening to, watching over here, make sure you follow us on our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. If you're looking for the YouTube version of this, go to the New York Mets YouTube channel and subscribe over there. And if you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Odyssey, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. The boys have been on the road. I've been in Arizona. James has been in San Francisco. How's it feel to be back in New York?
It feels good. Really, I just feel good to be doing the show again. This is 8 days since we last recorded an episode. This is the longest we've gone without recording in basically a full year. And I miss you guys. I want to talk to you guys about baseball. I'm excited to talk about Mets stuff, some big things happening, and excited to talk about this World Series because I think, as opposed to what some nationally syndicated writers will have you believe, I think this is one of the more interesting and exciting World Series matchups that we've had in a really long time.
I have something. Shame on the writers for doing that. You have a chance to hype up two great teams that are built in different ways. The Diamondbacks and Rangers 2 years ago both had 100 wins or 100 losses. My bad. 100 losses in the 2021 season. They're both in the World Series right now. This may not be exciting per se from the national standpoint for the idiots who don't actually love baseball, who are like, man, I want to see the Dodgers versus the Yankees every single year. That's actually not good for baseball. Having teams like this get into the World Series, growing the game in these markets, I mean, Texas not as much, but even Arizona, growing the game in that market is super big for a franchise that is still relatively young, only about 30-ish years old. I think this might be even their 25th season. Really good stuff. Shame on the writers, though, for saying this World Series is not going to be exciting. When we go into the full preview, we'll tell you more about it, but these are two awesome teams.
Awesome teams, really fun. Also, a team that has never won a World Series. Any team in any sport in a championship that's never won one, I think is incredibly exciting. Yep. It's just never happened before. Also, a breath of fresh air. First time since 2016. I'm sure you guys have seen these on Twitter because every single national media outlet tweet this exact thing. First time since 2016 that the Astros or Dodgers have not been in the World Series, which I think is really cool, like new blood. And I think this also, again, we'll talk about more in the preview, but I think this just highlights some of the great aspects of modern baseball. I've chastised the playoff format a lot on this show especially, but I think a team like the Diamondbacks, who has an incredibly low payroll, I don't think anybody on the roster makes more than $12 million annually, to show that they won 84 games, they barely snuck into the playoffs, they were just meandering mediocre in the middle of the season. They went out at the trade deadline, they got aggressive, they got hot at the right time, they're young, they're exciting. The ball bounced their way a few times, and they can make the World Series have a really good chance to win it. It's really cool. And we're going to talk about it a lot because I think, again, this is one of the more exciting World Series we've had in a very long time. But first, got a lot of Mets stuff to talk about. A lot of Mets stuff to talk about here. A couple housekeeping things. First off, we had two Mets nominated for MLBPA Choice Awards players. So clap it up. Clap it up. Francisco Lindor, for the second year in a row, nominated for the Marvin Miller Man of the Year. He won the award last year, 2022. And for those not familiar with the awards, voted on by the players. All of these MLBPA awards are voted on by the players. Goes around every clubhouse, every locker room in the league. And it's given out to a player who inspires others to higher levels of achievement by their on-field performance and contributions to their communities. We know how great of a leader Francisco Lindor is. We also know he does great charity work with his organization, Lindor Smiles, also the Boys and Girls Club, Make-A-Wish. He's also done so much work at his alma mater, Montford High School. He's donated $1 million there to build a middle school a few years ago, the Lindor Hall. He funds a scholarship in his name. He has free clinics at the school. He's bought them team uniforms in the past. We've talked about ad nauseum about how much he does on the field as a leader, how great he was this year, and what was a bad season for the Mets, talking every single day, saying the right things, being accountable to the media, going out, doing what he had to do every single day. So really nice to see him be recognized for this 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I mean, Lindor is the man. You talk about the on-field presence, too. How about the fact that he played the entire season seemingly with the bone chips in his elbow that he got surgically removed, and he still had one of the best seasons a shortstop had in baseball this year. Off the field, like you said, he's incredible. Everything about Francisco Lindor is awesome, and it makes it that much even more worth it, the fact that he's here for the next 8-9 seasons. I don't remember exactly how long the contract has left, but he's here for the foreseeable future, makes that contract even better that not only is he great on the field, but he does so much off the field to help people who need help. I mean, just being able to take your time like that when you are playing so much baseball, you then want to spend time with your family. Obviously, he had a newborn and he's got his daughter. You want to spend time with your family. You don't get that much time with them during the season to then use any of that extra time you have to help others who need it. I mean, that's incredible stuff.
It is. Shout out to him, of course. And then Kodai Senga, and National League Outstanding Rookie. This isn't like the syndicated Rookie of the Year award, but this is, again, one voted on by the players. And the finalists were Kodai, Corbin Carroll, and Spencer Steer. So the class of National League, Kodai Senga, as we know, just amazing. Francisco Lindor also named the Gold Glove finalist last week. That happened like right after we recorded. I was pretty upset. Like hours after we recorded, all these things came out. I was like, damn. But again, kind of disappointing. No utility Gold Glove nomination for Jeff McNeil. Mookie Betts and Ha-Seong Kim were both nominated for utility and their primary positions, which I thought was a little frustrating compared to like give someone who's like, a little more of utility. But those guys still were, and those guys had amazing years. So just being a little sour, being a little sassy about it, but whatever.
I'm okay with Mookie Betts getting it because he did something that you just like honestly haven't seen a player like ever really do, play right field at a goal level, and then also be like, hey, you know what? I'll play second base and shortstop as well.
Ha-Seong Kim, the one, because the guy we're talking about in the Mets does that every year.
Yeah, but I mean, like Ha-Seong Kim, like played what, shortstop and second base this year. Yeah. Like that's a little bit of a cop out to call him a utility player. He's a utility infielder. I feel like for utility, you have to play both infield and outfield. What do you think about that?
I don't disagree with you at all, or at least play like a middle and a corner, which Ha-Seong Kim did some corner, but shortstop and second, while they're the most important defensive positions on the infield, they're a little very more similar to most other positions on the diamond. And Tommy Edman was the third guy nominated for that. He had much more of an even distribution too between infield and outfield, and he was plus at both. So I do think he is good for that. And just Mookie Betts should get as many awards as possible this season because he had like historically incredible season. We're all going to forget it because he went 1 for 17 to DS against the Snakes.
Got one more hit than we did in the postseason.
Yeah, but Snakes, the most exciting team in America's team, if you will. So you can't really fault someone for that. But yeah, just Mookie Betts was a revelation this year. Also, fun little one. Francisco Alvarez nominated for the Luis Aparicio Award, given yearly to the best Venezuelan Major League player.
Okay.
I don't think he's going to win it. There's a lot of amazing Venezuelan players, but the fact that he's been recognized for that, great. Huge first step.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. I mean, Francisco, we know, had like a crazy hot start to the year, cooled off a little bit as the year went on. Season's long. He was still so young. But overall, looking back at his season, I know your boy Gabby Moreno's one of your favorite catching guys right now, and he's getting a lot of love in the postseason. He's had a great postseason. Not going to deny it. But then you look at Francisco Alvarez, like, man, that guy hit like 20 more home runs than Gabby Moreno this year. Yeah. Like Alvarez has done some special stuff at an extremely young age, and super cool to see him recognized as one of the best Venezuelan players in baseball at the age of what, James?
21.
Yes, 21 years old.
Oh my gosh, it's his birthday, I think next week. We got to do something for his 22nd birthday, celebrate.
Well, you know what? We'll invite him to, we can hang out. We can get a drink if he wants. If he wants to come out. We know some good food in the area. We'll invite him out.
We could just make some lasagna too. Have a lasagna party, the three of us.
Maybe arepas. I'll have if Francisco Alvarez wants to have an arepa, I'll have one, even though there's cheese in them.
Yeah, I'll try to learn. We just both give ourselves like horrible stomach aches and being out of commission just to hang out with Francisco Alvarez and eat food, so he doesn't think we're weird and can't eat stuff. I'm down for that. Yeah. Also, for you guys don't know, Gab Moreno is kind of a meme for Mark and I, because like going all the way back to when he was doing streams at the beginning of the season on YouTube, and then back when he did the playoff preview stream the first day of the wild card round, I was telling him how great Gab Moreno is as a baseball player, and he was like, I don't see it. I don't really see it. He's gone on to be the hero of this postseason. So shout out Gab Moreno. Mark didn't believe.
I will believe for now. But we'll wait until after the World Series to see if I continue to believe. Some other stuff going on here. We also got a little Yoshinobu Yamamoto info, a little Yamamoto scoop here. Will Sammon, friend of the show, Athletic, did a great piece on him. Sources say Yamamoto wants a big market. And James, just talking about the biggest markets in the world, what would the biggest market be, you think?
I look at my window. I think New York's a pretty big market. I think just objectively speaking, if someone wants a big market and there one exists, I think just we could say this possible connection, and we'll leave it at that. But some other great tidbits from this article. Again, shout out Will. He's a great reporter there for The Athletic. There was he kind of just like took the temperature of a lot of Japanese players that have come over to America in recent years, and there's basically always been a bit of an understanding that players coming over don't really, like popular contrary belief, want to play with other Japanese players. And this was a quote from the article: due to the importance of seniority in Japan's hierarchical, I can't say that word, hierarchical structure.
Ooh, that is a hard one.
Right? I'm losing it.
Hierarchical? Is that it?
I was wrong. You guys understand what we're saying, that culture. And but apparently that's not how Yamamoto feels. And a big part of that is Kodai Senga, because Kodai has openly said how much he wants to play with him, which is also apparently a very rare thing for Japanese players to be like, I want to play with this guy. But Kodai has put so much of an emphasis on winning. And he also, again, you guys have heard him on this show. We've talked to him a few times. Just his personality is a little bit more new age, a little bit more modern in terms of what Japanese baseball players traditionally have been like. So that's just it. We're so far from anything actually being real there. There's going to be a long way to go for that process. He's probably the most coveted free agent pitcher on the market. I can say pitcher because Shohei Ohtani isn't pitching anymore, but I think especially just because Aaron Nola I think is quite good, but I think just Yamamoto is much sexier. Like Nola is what he is, but Yamamoto is like, whoa, 99, nice.
Yeah, I mean, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, just real quick, because I want to just talk about his numbers for like a second before we actually like ever deep dive into him. But just from the outside looking in, the last 3 years in the NPB, and of course it's not Major League Baseball, but it's still very, very good. I mean, we saw Japan won the World Baseball Classic. Here's what his innings count is: 193, 193, 171. You know what his ERAs are for that year? Because they're pretty disgusting. 139, 168, 116. So over the last almost 600 innings of his professional baseball career, his ERA has been under 2, under 1.5 probably. And if you go all the way back, you look at 2020, he had a 2.4 ERA. You look at, or 2.2 ERA. You look at 2019, 1.99, 2018, 2.10. He's only ever been disgusting. And that's something that is super intriguing. It's going to be a hot market for Yoshinobu Yamamoto, without a doubt.
Yeah, he's won the Japanese Triple Crown 3 years in a row. And I think he's won 3 years in a row because I think he's also won the Quadruple Crown 2 years in a row, which they add win percentage in there too for the Quadruple Crown, which I think is really funny. But someone said that. I was like, I've never, ever heard the Quadruple Crown ever, but I like Quadruple Crowns. But he's incredible. I think he's lights out. You saw him in the World Baseball Classic last year. We're going to do a deep dive into a lot of the available players once the World Series concludes, and we're going to get to that. And then there's one more piece of news to report. A lot of reporting by Andy Martino in the last couple of days that there is a little bit of momentum now with Craig Counsell. Not going to remark on rumors, but there was an article a few days ago that Martino wrote that said geography would not stop Counsell from potentially thinking about the Mets job, which is there's still a lot to be done about a fit and all that stuff. But geography is a big deal because Counsell grew up in Washington, Wisconsin. He literally still lives in the same town in Wisconsin that he graduated high school in.
Really?
Yeah, and he played for the Brewers, and then he got a job in the Brewers front office. Then he was a color guy for the Brewers for a year or two, and then he was the Brewers manager, and that's been literally his entire life. So the fact that geography theoretically reported would not stop Counsell was a big hurdle, and now there is a report that came out recently, yesterday, when you guys listening to this, possibly today, depending when you guys listen to this, that there is permission for an interview. That is what was reported, and that's that.
And that's what you're getting. That's what you're getting. Moving on to the next couple bit of news as well. Shout out to the 7 Line. Of course, you guys know about them. Great. We love Darren. Shout out Darren. They're now in the MLB store. So if you guys ever want to physically go buy some things from the 7 Line, you can go to the MLB store in Manhattan. I think it's right by the MLB offices, right by Radio City. Mm-hmm. Really cool store, by the way, if you've never been there. I've been there a bunch of times. It's like, awesome. I don't know if you went to the NBA store as a kid. That was like such a cool place to be. Me and my mom used to let me play hooky once a year. They had this thing called like the Spring Jam, where they would do contests and like free throw contests at the NBA store. And I'd clean up winning all these free prizes. I got a Chris Paul fathead. I got like $150 gift card all in the same day, which was pretty cool. But yeah, MLB stores got similar vibes to that of just like jerseys everywhere, every single team. Now you can get the 7 Line. I think specifically they're going to have the really cool hats that they have, which are like the home run apple beanie for the winter, and then the tweed hats, which are fantastic. Not for me, but I think for you, James, it would work.
Yeah, I want that blue tweed hat. I might go this weekend and try and grab it. But so funny you're talking about that hooky. I used to love going to the NBA store as a kid, specifically to look at Yao Ming and Shaq's shoes.
Yes,
that was the greatest thing ever. Because I mean, if you guys
hands,
if you guys ever met me in real life, I'm not the biggest guy in the world. So when I was like 10, like Yao Ming's shoe was like the size of my entire arm, like shoulder to wrist. So I thought that was really fun to look at. But it's just really cool to see like where the 7 Line's gone in the last few years. Darren's always been so accommodating, inviting to us. Shout out first ever sponsor of the Mets'd podcast, 7 Line, and just amazing to see the growth of everything that's happened. The fact you can buy those clothes because inside the season, you can buy them in center field, but outside the season in the MLB store, it's momentous, it's a massive step, and it's really, really, really cool just to see what he's done with that. It's admirable.
Yep, couldn't happen to a better guy. Shout out Darren, works super hard and is super passionate about what he does. And the 7 Line's awesome. We love him. So shout out Darren, shout out the 7 Line. And then, of course, we want to send our best wishes to Pat McCarthy, who was involved in a jogging accident, underwent some type of medical procedure for it. His dad, who is the one of the people in Philadelphia, does a broadcast, said he's doing well. He's going to be okay, but we just want to make sure we send our best wishes to him because Pat, friend of the podcast as well.
Yeah, Pat, great year reporting. Just hope he's okay. Shout out
Yes,
Pat.
hope he's okay. Shout out Pat. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about this World Series preview because, like we said at the beginning of the show, this is an exciting World Series. I know it doesn't involve the Mets, and I know some people get mad when we tell you we're excited about watching a team outside of the Mets, but we're baseball fans. We love the Mets, and then we love baseball as well. And what's even better is that these two teams, I don't hate either of them. The Phillies are gone. The Braves are gone. There's no Yankees for me. You might hate the Astros. I don't, but you might. They're not in it either. We got the Rangers versus the Diamondbacks in what is such a unique matchup. I'm super excited to watch some games. We might be heading out to Arizona to go see a couple of them as well. What are you feeling about this one, James?
I'm ridiculously excited for this, genuinely, because it's both of these teams are such like points of emphasis to like what you can do in modern baseball and how quickly, with the right people in place and just a couple pushing the right buttons, how quickly things can change. Both of these teams lost 100 games 2 years ago. And I don't think either of these teams had a winning record last year. I think the Diamondbacks were around 500, maybe a game or two over. But in the Texas Rangers, I believe, had 78 wins last year. And just the right types of investments, the right types of hires, it's amazing how quickly it can change. You personally, I know we both were pretty aware the Rangers were going to be good this year. I know that we right after the World Series last year, Mark and I were we really had a good feeling about the Rangers. We just had a conversation about it. Like right the second the Phillies lost the World Series, which is nice that they last year lost the World Series. We'll pile on the Phillies after we talk about teams that won, but lost the World Series. Now this year they lost the NLCS. So, Philadelphia, title town, they can't stop getting close and losing. It's as good as it gets. All those clutch players pointing to their fingers. That's how many rings.
Yeah.
How many rings all those guys. How we talk about the winners first. Talk about the winners first. But seeing the fact that this Arizona Diamondbacks team, like the fight in the team that everyone has written off the entire year, they had absolutely nothing going for them. They had a really good 2 months of the season, were abysmal in the middle part of the season. The Mets handled them soundly during the middle of the year. I think the Mets won 5 out of 7 games against them this season.
6 out of 7.
There you go, 6 out of 7 games against them this season. So shout out to the captain of the Mets for that one. But so many things happened, so many players lost. Here's a fun stat for the Arizona Diamondbacks right now. Ketel Marte makes $11.6 million a year. Merrill Kelly 8.5, Christian Walker 6.5. The 4th highest paid player on the Diamondbacks. Can you guess who it is?
Tommy Pham? Paul Sewald?
No, neither. Tommy Pham.
Evan Longoria.
Nope.
Whoa, it's not?
Nope, not for adjusted salary. He's $5 million.
Whoa, okay. Oh, Madison Bumgarner.
No, he's let's see what I mean, technically he's due $18 million, but I'm not counting guys not on the roster. Yeah, actually, here's a fun one. Madison Bumgarner, the highest paid player in Diamondbacks, is not on the team. Nick Ahmed, the 3rd technically highest paid player, is also not on the team. Same with Carson Kelly, who would be the 9th highest paid player. It's Mark Melancon.
What?
Do $6 million.
Is he on the team?
He's been on the IL basically the entire season.
Whoa, Mark Melancon was on the Diamondbacks. I legitimately thought he retired and disappeared into obscurity.
Nope, that's not it. And I'm looking for a text message right now I sent to my buddy. Here it is, August 17th. My buddy Christian, shout out Christian, works player development down for the Astros single A team. Not Astros, Diamondbacks single A team. I got my baseball friends confused. On August 17th, the Diamondbacks were reeling. I think they'd lost like 10 out of 11 games or like 13 out of 16, something like that. And they pulled out the purple jerseys as per the wishes of the team on August 17th. And that single-handedly turned the entire season around, just to, again, show that you look good, you feel good, and you feel good, you play good. I want to get there. I want to get the record on that day. But yeah, you pontificate now about your time in Arizona. Yeah,
so I was there for game 3, 4, and 5. Shout out Dalton, James' friend, now my friend as well, who let me sleep on his couch. A real mensch. Shout out to Dalton for that one. Had a blast out there. People are saying Arizona wasn't going to bring the vibes. The stadium was loud. Now, granted, the roof was closed, so it does help a little bit, but the stadium was raucous, especially for that Ketel Marte walk-off, especially for the Alek Thomas home run. The place was going wild. I had an absolute blast out there. Super excited to go back to Arizona for the World Series. Even if we don't go to every single game out there, just go to one or hang out some bars. People were really fun. People seem to really love the Snakes out there. Good atmosphere. Philly fans really thought they were going to take over. They did not. There were a bunch of them there, but they left pretty quiet almost every single night. And it was just a really good time. It was also awesome, and I know we both tweet about this, funny enough, without even noticing, that everybody finally gets to see how effing good Ketel Marte is. I know we've talked about it on this podcast whenever we play the Diamondbacks. We're like, this is one of the best second basemen in baseball, without a doubt. The dude's elite. He now owns the record for the longest hit streak in postseason history. Every single postseason game Ketel Marte has ever played in, he has got a hit. And I know we're not a batting average podcast, but that is impressive. And just what he's been able to do at the top of that order, especially when Corbin Carroll had been struggling outside of Game 7, which Corbin Carroll legacy game, James Shiano called it in the group text message. Huge to get him going. Gabby Moreno's been great. And then there's been incredible cold spells. Tommy Pham and Christian Walker have been almost non-existent in the NLCS for them, and they were still able to beat the Phillies. Lourdes Gurriel's been great. Alec Thomas, guy I think hit 4 home runs all year. He has like 5 in the postseason. Just goes to show you,
Geraldo Perdomo.
Yeah, Geraldo Perdomo, soft contact king. The dude can't hit the ball harder than me, but he gets on base a ton, and he's been stealing, playing good defense. The Diamondbacks are a fun team in a different way than the Rangers, like you said, because the Rangers did go out and spend money. But they also have the same in that, like, they've been getting these huge contributions from guys that are essentially free on their team. Like Corbin Carroll being free and being as good as he is unbelievable. If he, in terms of value, he had to be one of the top players in baseball this year in terms of like that Fangraphs monetary value that they gave you. How about Brandon Pfaadt? A guy who struggled mightily this year and just shoved all postseason long. He's been phenomenal. The bullpen filled with guys that you've probably never heard of. I'm not going to say that, us fans aren't knowledgeable, but seriously, how many of you knew that Kevin Ginkel was this good? How many of you knew that Andrew Salfrank was going to come in and get some big outs? Or even Kyle Nelson, like guys that are just not necessarily jump off the page big, but having big moments. Ryan Thompson, guys that picked up off the scrap heap. So really cool to see the Diamondbacks playing well, but also on the other side, really cool to see the Rangers just kind of absolutely give it to the Astros. I know it was Game 7, but they pretty much dominated this series.
Yeah, I do. I think, again, both teams are really exciting. Both teams are a lot of fun. And you're talking about Ketel Marte. And I think that the way that you watch the other players on Dominican Republic's national team, the WBC, kind of interact with Ketel Marte, and you saw the respect he was given when that lineup was being drawn up and being in that lineup every day. You could see what other players think of him. And he's a guy who power, contact, good defense, good athleticism, on-field leader. Like, he literally does everything. And he's one of the fun players in the league where he doesn't really have a weakness, as crazy as it is to say, because he's not a player that's like nationally syndicated. He's not a living household name, but he's got a positive run value against every single pitch he saw this year. He doesn't have a negative run value against any pitch. His barrel rate's at league average. He strikes out, whiffs, and chases well above league average with the power. Doesn't strike out. Like, he's awesome. He's a really good baseball player. People don't talk about it enough. And there's so many things in this team. I think Brandon Pfaadt, the way he's come alive in this postseason, I think we talk about a lot in the show, but is a lesson to the way people across baseball interact with prospects, is the way I want to say it, to where you kind of
stuff we say on this podcast all the time.
Like Brandon Pfaadt this year, he had such a disastrous first cup of coffee in the major leagues. And he's someone who came up with this crop of young Diamondbacks pitchers with him, Ryan Nelson, and Drew Jameson. And there was a time where Pfaadt was probably considered the lower of those three. And then last season, he had an incredible revolutionary year in the minor leagues, where then he became the one who was supposed to be the highest of those three, where he steamrolled through AAA, had a lot of strikeouts in AA before going to the PCL. ERA was better in AAA, but he put together, and this is the most important thing about Brandon Pfaadt, and kind of seeing which young guys can step up for a team when things matter most, he put up innings. Last year, Brandon Pfaadt threw 160 innings in minor leagues. So it was one of the highest totals for any minor league player in all of baseball. And I think that is a big thing when you look at guys, especially now, to bring it back to the Mets. We're going to be looking at the Mets season next year, where we don't know what the pitching rotation is going to look like. And there's a lot of young guys this year who kind of asserted themselves and took these steps up. And you want to look at the guys who possibly could be there. Because I think another thing that we struggle with in baseball analysis, because a lot of it comes from fantasy baseball, because that's just where a lot of people come and talk about it. We try too much to think about the beginning of the year rather than the end of the year, because you're playing and you want a guy who's going to be on a team right away. You want a guy who's going to be contributing. You want a guy who's going to jump from the start. You want to get that advantage. But a guy like Pfaadt, who came up and was horrific, ERA was 9 through the first half of the year. He makes a little adjustment. Shout out Brent Strom. Best to do it. Best in the biz right there.
So good.
He moves him on the mound, so his two-seam fastball, that with the arm side run away from the lefties into the righties, can have a little more life and kind of get off the plate a little bit more. And you see that work in this series against the Phillies, where Stott did get to him, but you see the way that a pitcher like Pfaadt can give fits to left-handed batters who aren't used to that kind of crazy movement coming from a right-handed pitcher. And you see the way he can build confidence. And it all comes again from throwing so many innings last year. And he's just hit his innings cap this year for where he was compared to last year. Through 160 last year, he just got to about 170 this year. That's a guy who's clean for the World Series. Like, to be able to have him as be their third most important pitcher, I would even argue their most important starting pitcher through the series, the way Zach Gallen struggled, and the way Merrill Kelly got hit in his first appearance. Brandon Pfaadt to go out there and throw multiple gems in the playoff series against a team with the hottest lineup in the league, it's really unbelievable. And again, it just goes to show people that when you have a prospect like this, you have to give them time. You have to give them time. The things they do in their first 3, 4, 5, 6 major league starts, they're not going to be indicative of what they do the rest of their career, even as we're seeing now, the rest of the season. If they would have given up on him, they wouldn't have made the World Series. But they stuck with him. They had a lot of confidence in him. He made the right adjustments. And then when the opportunity arose, he stepped up and he delivered. And that's kind of one of the most beautiful things about baseball in general.
Can't stop doing the Snakes. Shout out Dalton. Shout out Co for letting me stay. We'll be there again next week. And last thing I want to say too, that I heard on the broadcast and that Torey Lovello talked about. Also, shout out to Torey Lovello. Done an incredible job this year. They've stuck with a plan. And I know some people are anti-analytics. Yeah, he did not play Alek Thomas last night. He didn't start him. There was a lefty on the mound, Ranger Suarez, started Tommy Pham. It ended up working out. He stuck to the plan. He pulled Merrill Kelly. Merrill Kelly was dealing, pulled him, said, get out of the game. Merrill Kelly was pissed. They won that game because he stuck to the plan, trust the numbers, trust his guys, trust their plan that they had. Huge job by him. But he was talking about one thing that he loved about Brandon Pfaadt last year in particular, and something we've talked about on this podcast, and I know Vito and John have talked about on Future of Flushing, is how important it is for these young players to be in just playoff games, championship games, even in the minor leagues. And one thing they talked about was last year, Brandon Pfaadt pitched in the championship game in AAA for the Reno Aces, and how he was thrilled. He was like, give me the ball. I want the ball. I want to pitch this game in a spot where theoretically he could have been discouraged that he was not called up to the major league level last year to make maybe 1 or 2 starts at the end of the season. Instead, he was like, I get to pitch in a playoff atmosphere in the minors. Obviously, it's different, but he seized the opportunity. He was super excited about it. And that was something that Torey Lovello said. He's like, basically, he's a dog. He's a dog. He wants to be out there. He wants the ball. He's excited. You saw him reading his book before the game on the bench, which was pretty awesome. Like, really, really cool stuff to see. Prospects, again, are not linear. We'll bang it home again because I'm sure we're going to have this conversation at some point next year when someone gets called up and has one bad appearance and people start freaking out again. But just remember, it's a long, long thing to find out if these players are good or not. And someone like Brandon Pfaadt's a good example. Now, to talk about those Rangers, because we also got to talk about them too. Like I said, they kind of manhandled the Astros, which sounds crazy because it was a 7-game series. But this offense is out of control. And when Adolis Garcia is playing like simply the best player in Major League Baseball right now, it's going to be really, really hard to beat them. Like the Diamondbacks' weakness for sure is probably their starting pitching. They did not look great outside of Brandon Pfaadt and Merrill Kelly. Adolis Garcia, man, he's just going to neutralize anything that's going well for you. He's such a dog.
I think the coolest thing about this World Series is that these two teams are so different in the way that they were built. And not that there's any bad thing about it, but they both go to show you like how quickly things can happen. The Diamondbacks have been slowly curating this farm system for a few years, and then they snapped, they got aggressive, we can't move on without talking about Paul Sewald, right?
I was really trying not to.
Paul Sewald, the fact that as Mets fans, we're going to watch a World Series where Paul Sewald and Tommy Pham are going to probably be contributing more than Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom. It's some kind of vortex of time and space. I can't even know.
And Miguel Castro.
Really, especially Ginkel and Sewald, the back of that bullpen, just completely being nails during the series. If those two guys even let up an inch, the Diamondbacks are not going to the World Series. Kevin Ginkel with that insane downward slider. And that nice
sick.
That gyro slider is incredible. Everyone talks about sweepers, and he comes back with a gyro slider, and JT Realmuto's looking. Who snapped their bat? Was it Bohm snapped his bat
Bohm
yesterday?
snapped it yesterday. I was like, calm down, Hardo.
Oh, no, well, that's when they mentally lost the game in that moment. But
yeah,
just again, Cespedes Barbecue had a great tweet where the Diamondbacks just tweeted the words Kevin Ginkel yesterday, like 10:17 p.m. And they were like, imagine if you saw this in March. Yeah, like, what would you think? And like Kevin Ginkel's the kind of guy who most baseball fans really don't know. I know my deep fantasy baseball heads do, just because he was the prospective closer in this team for the last 2 years, but they would never give him the ball there, even though he was always been their best reliever. He's always graded the best. He throws the hardest, and he has the best off-speed pitch. It's really frustrating. But Sewald, man, Paul Sewald has become the quintessential move that was made to trade deadline this year. Like, how can the Mariners look up having missed the playoffs? Jerry DiPolo talking about winning 54% of their games, and you traded the guy who's become the most important piece of a team that's in the World Series right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's been great. He's been absolutely money, lights out. That bullpen's been fantastic. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what they can do. This Rangers lineup, though, is just so good. I know I keep bringing it up, but like top to bottom, Marcus Semien leads it off, and then you got Corey Seager hitting too. Like, come on, those two up first and second. And then, how about Evan Carter, 21 years old? Talk about another 21-year-old who's doing incredible things. Me and you have been hip to Evan Carter for a bit, so we've known that this was coming. but he's so good. He's so good. His plate discipline's out of control. And then, Adolis Garcia, Mitch Garver, Jonah Heim. Everywhere you go in this lineup, Nathaniel Lowe's hitting 7th. That guy's a dog. That guy's a ball player. Shout Nathaniel Lowe. He's going through some stuff off the field. Like, so happy for that guy that he was able to hit a huge home run in Game 7. Even Leody Taveras, Travis Jankowski made an appearance and almost hit a home run. Got robbed by Kyle Tucker. This lineup is legit. Now, where they do lack is on the pitching side. The pitching is not good. Not good at all. But if they keep scoring 10 runs a game, it truly doesn't matter what the Diamondbacks do. They will not win.
No, it doesn't. But there's so much about this Rangers team that we can look at, again, pulling things back to the Mets and be like, okay, this is part of the blueprint, because the Rangers, a lot of Astros fans were a little butthurt about it. Oh my God, the Rangers spent so much money and did it, even though the team's, I think, yearly payroll is separated by like 10 million, maybe 7 million about that. So yeah, cool. But they went out in free agency, and this is something that you got to tip your hat to the Phillies too. They've had 2 very good seasons here. They made it further than most teams in baseball cumulatively in the last 2 years. Can't say they didn't.
A lot of rings.
Yeah, a lot of rings. So many rings. But if you go out in free agency, like, it's kind of chastised a little bit because of how, the Mets, the Padres, the Yankees all fared this year, the Dodgers year after year. But if you go get the right players, it really is like, that's the difference. And Seager and Semien together, Nathan Eovaldi, my God, what this guy, the fact that he's not even throwing hard anymore, he just shows up in the postseason, no one hits him with those big ass ears. Doesn't make any sense. But if you go out and you could do the right things with the right players, I think a huge part of that, doing the right things with the right players, is the organizational infrastructure the Texas Rangers have put in place. Talked about in the past. I think Chris Young's done an amazing job as general manager there. It took them a lot to fire John Daniels after they made him the youngest general manager in team history. Lots of swings and misses in his regime, but the biggest thing they did, 2 huge moves. I tweeted about it the other day, and you could tell that it's something that's off the radar because I got like 3 likes. Darren Willem. They hired him in 2021, right at the time when we started this podcast. If you guys are really long-time listeners to this, you probably heard us pontificating about it because he's the godfather of Baseball Savant. He's run their R&D department for years now, since 2021, and the things that they've done years, they even the moves they've made that haven't really worked out, like John Gray. Like, you had to get John Gray. If you don't have John Gray, they wouldn't have gotten to the playoffs. Like, the things he was doing for them in May and June were really important. Andrew Heaney, you know what? It's weird, but right now at least he can give you a few innings. Like, Andrew Heaney's always going to be that guy who's like one adjustment away. He's the kind of guy. Dane Dunning, but Dane Dunning, the massive shifts they've done with Dane Dunning in the last year, switching his 2-seamer and his sinker and his fastball, like the way he's approaching hitters, just building this bullpen of pure chaos, but everyone at least still throws 95, 96 miles an hour. So, like, it's still going to be hard to hit. These guys aren't that good, but they're still kind of hard to hit. Like, it's so cool what they've done. And then the last guy you're talking about, because you go through the lineup, Jonah Heim taking the big step, Mitch Garver turning the clock back.
I know who it is.
Daniel Lowe, Josh Young. Donnie Ecker, guys.
There he is.
There hasn't been one thing written about this guy since this team went crazy. There's been nothing. The hitting coordinator, the bench coach for this roster, it's like sometimes in baseball you look and you're like, wow, every single guy in this team is having a career year. What credit to the manager slapping their butts every single day. No, it's the guy game planning for them. The guy saying, this is how you select your pitches. A guy like Adolis Garcia doesn't become one of the best hitters in baseball on accident when he's someone who swings at everything, can't identify a slider for 5 years, his entire baseball professional life. And now suddenly he's walking 10% of the time. His barrel rate's still 20%. Like, that is not something that happens. So everyone look up Donnie Ecker. You can see what happens when you get the right coaches and the right organizational infrastructure in place. Donnie Ecker, Darren Willem, Chris Young, and also I make fun, we joke about it, but Bruce Bochy does get some legitimate credit for this.
Steady.
He really does. Like, the fact that he has never lost a Game 7, and now Dusty Baker has still never won one. Like, baseball is random, and there's a lot of variance in this game, but that is something that that's not an accident. Like, you got to tip your cap to that. And seeing him be interviewed after Game 6, I think was that stark realization of how having someone who has won, who has been there before, who's legitimately been there before, someone who championed a dynasty. You don't do that over
the last
and over
dynasty
again.
In baseball.
Yes, the last dynasty in baseball. I'd probably say the last dynasty in sports, because the Patriots' first dynasty was before that. The second one I don't think was really a
Warriors.
dynasty. Yeah, Warriors. I forgot. Just Kevin Durant. I don't know. I guess.
I mean, they're a loser dynasty, but they were one.
Yeah, I guess they were a dynasty. I don't know. The NBA. Oh, the NBA started the other day. Whoop-de-doo. Woo-wee, the NBA. There's baseball going on still, guys.
It's
but
true.
To the fact that he has been there before, the moment's not too big. This team was completely dead. Both of these teams were completely dead in the middle of August. Dead. I finally got that stat before. When the Diamondbacks on August 14th had lost, 8 out of 10 games, they dropped to below 500 for the first time in the season. on August 14th, and then they brought out the purple jerseys, and that's when it all turned back around. Look good, feel good, play good. But give Bruce Bochy the credit. This team has been dead so many times this year. They went up against so many good teams this postseason, and he was like, you know what? We're going to win. We're going to go, and we're going to hand it to him. And it was so sweet to watch them just murder the Astros. An Astros team that seems like they're kind of making some changes. It seems like that they might not look like the Astros of old really anymore.
Dusty's gone.
Feels a little different. Dusty's gone. A lot of that front office, like they walked away during the postseason, which is kind of a normal thing because usually that's when front office contracts are up sometime in October. So that's not really
doing much.
Yeah, people are freaking out about that one, but it's also kind of like, I don't know, it could be changes. This could be something that we look back in 5 years and be like, yeah, that's when this thing ended. But it might not be. They could be back next year. I'm not going to count them out. They
probably will be.
They go to every ALCS, but it's just to see them crush them like that and see that ballpark of all those passionate fans that dress like, for lack of a better word, idiots, leave in the 8th inning. It was sweet and it was beautiful and it was amazing.
And it's so funny because we like the Astros too. I have no ill will towards them.
No, I don't hate the Astros at all. It's more their fans. They're just kind of annoying. But the roster, the players, like they're an all-time great team. Like we're gonna be telling our grandkids about Jose Altuve. Like, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's one of, if not for literally the cheating scandal, he'd be one of the most loved athletes of our generation.
100%.
It's something to say, but I think he still should get the credit he deserves, being one of the best players of a generation. But
this
Rangers team is fun. They're exciting. They're confident. They're brash. They think they're going to beat you. If you guys didn't get a chance, you have to check out the ump cam of Adolis Garcia's home run. It's probably the best use of any intuitive camera ever in an athletic field, where the ump is looking at Adolis and he just throws his bat, and it looks like he's like talking to the umpire, where he's screaming, he's putting his hands up, he's saying, that's it, that's that. Home run in 4 straight games, including the game he got plunked. It's, oh my God, it's so much fun. They're such a fun baseball team, and they're a team that went out, and in a couple of years, they're like, you know what? We're going to be good. Let's go spend a bunch of money. Let's hire the right people, and we're going to be good. We don't really care. If you put investment in these baseball teams in the right places, you're going to be good, and they prove that.
And honestly, like as a Met fan, it should be music to your ears. Brought in David Stearns. It's a really, really, really good start right there. And we know he was able to build a winning team out in Milwaukee, which, funny enough, every team, or if you beat the Brewers in the playoffs, you are guaranteed to make the World Series since 1981, which I do believe is like the first time they made the postseason, possibly in their history. Every single team that has beat them in the playoffs since then has gone on to the World Series, which is just an insane stat because the Diamondbacks obviously knocked them out early. Embrace the chaos. This is a chaos World Series. This is a chaos playoffs. This is kind of what you almost want to see a little bit when you have these more expanded playoffs. You don't want to just see the 1 seeds walk through. That almost makes it a little bit less worth it. Now with these expanded playoffs, you see 2 6 seeds make it. You go, yeah, it seems like the expansion actually might have been the right idea, because in previous years, both these teams simply would not have even had a chance to make the playoffs. They would have been out of it. Their seasons would have been over. And I think you too think it's really cool that we get to see both these teams on the national stage in what is going to be a really, really fun World Series. Again, shame on the writers who are saying this one's boring. Shame on any baseball fans who are saying this isn't going to be a fun one. Listen, you can spend your time how you want. That's fine. But the people who are supposed to be reporting about these stories, writing about these games, promoting the game, that are not doing a great job, absolutely terrible, terrible, terrible. Let's go. Where you go?
I think it's also, these are the same people who whined all season, all last offseason, that it's all about money in baseball, all the big money teams, you can't stop them. And a team like the Diamondbacks, it goes to show you that a small market team that's under 500 in the middle of August, just sometimes you gotta just go for it. And like, they went for it, man. Sewald and Tommy Pham, like, it didn't seem like much of the time, but you look back and you're like, that was a really good trade deadline. I think we said that on your stream, where it's like, and the best part about this, and the worst thing about these writers killing it, is that both of these teams are such a message to every other team in baseball.
Yep.
If you have the money and you're not spending it, you're costing yourself chances to win. If you're not in this for chances to win, why are you in it? And if you're a team in the middle, in the middle of the season, just go for it. You can win. Like, you could just win these games. You can win these games. Sometimes, Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, sometimes they go 1 for 30 in the last 2 games of a series. Sometimes that happens. If that happens, you have a chance to win. Like, these are such good lessons to every other organization in baseball. Sometimes you got to push the chips. You got no one to hold them, no one to fold them. This isn't like, I'm not like subtweeting the Mets right now. The Mets knew when to fold them. It was a great trade deadline, and we'll tip our caps to that forever. But this Diamondbacks team that was reeling and they weren't that good. They don't know when the team makes any money. There's no household names. There's really not really any superstars besides Corbin Carroll and Ketel Marte if you really know what's going on. But no bullpen. Oh my God, it's just go. And the Rangers just, you got money, spend it, get some superstars and make it happen.
I don't know about you, but I don't want to do a World Series prediction. I don't want to jinx either of these teams. I just want good baseball.
I just want good ball too. Like, it's just fun. Like, I want to see these teams do it. And I just want to watch some games. And also, it's kind of fun that we have a chaos series where we don't really got that much pitching. It's gonna be a lot of action.
A lot of scoring.
Gonna be some weird guys get some innings in the series, which I kind of like a lot. It's gonna be some Jose. Also, shout out Jose Leclerc. Do you realize how long Jose Leclerc's been doing this?
For like 2017, 18, I think.
I think even before that. I think he first came up in like 2015. I'm trying to get his Fangraphs page right now because I remember Jose Leclerc randomly helped me to a fantasy baseball championship, and I want to say what year
Leclerc is 2016 his first year.
Yeah, 2016 his first year. In 2018, Jose Leclerc helped lead me to a championship, like 12 second half saves. Massive. Changed my entire season. Jose Leclerc had a 1.5 ERA, but just a guy. He's 29-year-old closer. He just got hot at the right time, just going off. He had that, he had a little bit of a shakeup in the middle of the series, but he got back to it. And it's fun. Teams have so many fun players, so many redemption stories, like so many cool things happening.
Yeah, no, it's going to be an awesome series. I hope we get to watch some great baseball. Hope it goes all 7 games. That's what I'm rooting for there. Go Snakes, go Rangers, go whoever. It's going to be great baseball. And you guys, if you are baseball fans, you should be watching a lot of really good players in this game, in this series. Now, last thing to talk about here. Those Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, 5 minutes on the Phillies. You got to do 5 minutes.
5 minutes on the Phillies. Garrett Stubbs.
What a choke job.
Stubbs. What an idiot that guy is, Garrett Stubbs. I mean, talk about an absolute botch. Did you not learn anything? Did you not learn anything from the series where you beat the Braves? Don't give a team bulletin board material. And literally minutes after they beat the Braves, what does Garrett Stubbs say? Can't wait to jump in that pool and celebrate. Like, what an idiot. What an idiot. Because the Diamondbacks literally were like, oh, we're not letting that happen. That's something that they mentioned. Torey Lovullo talked about it in a press conference after the game. They're not celebrating in that pool. Like, why would you do that? And he called out the Mets too. You should have been worried about the Snakes.
It is funny that I feel like this Phillies team, similar to exactly what the Braves did last year, just completely forgot that there was more baseball to be played. Once they won what they deemed as the big series. Last year, the Braves being the Mets, and then this year, the Phillies being the Braves. Like, you kind of build up these series all year, and then mentally, it's hard to get yourself back ready. Like, they totally overlooked the Arizona Diamondbacks. The national media totally overlooked the Arizona Diamondbacks. Chris Mad Dog Russo really overlooked the Arizona Diamondbacks. Every single person in baseball went immediately to who are the Phillies playing in the World Series. And now it's like, all right, you're back. You could lose Aaron Nola. Like, you should. You probably will lose Aaron Nola. Like, you still have bullpen issues you have to remedy. The lineup is still going to be there, but what?
How great was it that the bullpen did not show up in the biggest series of the year? I feel vindicated for that. There's a Philly fan that has been chirping me all year in my DMs. As soon as they lost the game last night, I literally started telling him, yeah, how'd that bullpen look, buddy? How's that season going, dude? I was like, I've been waiting for this all year. I know they had a good regular season. They got him there. But, man, Craig Kimbrell crumbling. Oh, it's just amazing to see this Phillies team just absolutely do nothing at the end of the year. It's so great.
And also, again, Turner, Harper, Castellanos
in particular had a brutal series.
One hit in game 6 and 7 at home. The Phillies needed to win one game in the bank. Ooh, the vaunted bank.
Rob the bank.
The scariest arena in sports. Yeah, we should have posted that Photoshop Dalton made too of robbing the bank.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you that you just gotta win. You gotta play ball sometimes. It's so much about what's in here, and you got people not watching YouTube like what's
so
in your
mental.
Head. It's so mental. This stuff. The Phillies were like, people thought they were gonna sweep them this series. This series seemed over.
That's my hot take. I think them taking the first 2 games as easily as they did was actually the kiss of death thinking back on it. Because like you said, everyone was kind of already looking forward to who are the Phillies going to play in the World Series. And I think after they won those 2 games, especially game 2, smacking Zach Allen and then smacking Merrill Kelly around for a bunch of runs, I think that almost made them a little bit too comfortable. You go into Arizona, beautiful weather. It was 103 degrees while I was there, which is insane. The jersey was unbuttoned while I was watching these games. It was so hot. But I think the fact that they kind of took those 2 games almost in retrospect was the kiss of death because they had no adversity. They had nothing that was keeping them hot. They handled them pretty easily. And it was like, oh, we're just gonna beat them. Like that's what it's gonna be. And it's kind of what it felt like with them.
And super came down to Brandon Pfaadt being that stopper because if Brandon Pfaadt gets hit in that series, then you're done. Series over.
Yep.
You can't go down 3-0, even if they went down like 4-0 in game 3.
Go bullpen game.
Yeah, right. And then the bullpen game after that. Shout out the bullpen games out there. I can't believe the Texas Rangers didn't do bullpen games this series when Max Scherzer was supposed to start. I can't believe they were like, just be a regular start. Like, what do you mean? Look how good these bullpen games work all the time in the playoffs, especially. But I don't know. Like this, I think dramatically changes where the Phillies vibes are. Like we're not dancing on my own. We're not dancing on my own anymore next year, are we? You can't do that after you lose twice in the playoffs. You can't bring the overalls back, can you? Like this
what is with the overalls, by the way? What does that do? You're from Philly. You're not from the South. What is that?
It is a fun vibe. You can't deny it. And now, like, again, all these conversations about Bryce Harper. He hits a lot of clutch home runs, not in the World Series.
Yeah, he does.
He's really clutch in the DS series. He's amazing there. And now, you know what? This people are going to hate me for saying this.
Oh, boy.
This couldn't have worked out better for the Mets. This was an ideal postseason for the
Mets. It was. Really outside of us winning it all, this was about as good as it could have gotten.
And the other part of that is I want to just call to attention one more thing probably before we say bye to you guys. There were a lot of Mets fans that were really upset with Jacob deGrom last year when he left and he went to the Rangers specifically because he talked about winning. And people were like, oh, the Rangers have done nothing ever. This team is nonsense. He's going out there just to pitch and not care about anything. And then he isn't even here, and this team's going to the World Series. If Jacob deGrom was healthy right now.
Where have I heard that before?
Yeah, right. But it's also like, I'm a little upset. And again, let us know in the comments if you guys made it this far in the show, like YouTube, Twitter, whatever. It's just like, I wish he was. I wish Jacob deGrom was dominating the World Series right now because I've never wanted anything more than for Jacob deGrom to succeed. Like, he's so good. He's the best baseball player most of us are ever going to watch in our favorite team in our lives. Like, it's so special. And the fact that fans were giving him, like, whatever you want to say about Max Scherzer, he was only here for a year and a half. Like, I'm not,
that's fine. Yeah.
Either way there, I'm not going to, we're not going to say it, but Jacob deGrom really gave us everything he had. And he left because the team gave him more money and had a lot of good things in place. This team, again, like Mark and I had a really good inkling last year, like during the World Series of 2022. This Rangers team had something cooking. Yeah. That was before deGrom was even there. And he didn't even really pitch this year. I almost feel bad if he's going to get a ring for this, for throwing like 17 innings. Like, it's almost going to be like, this is the ring I get. Like, damn. But even like Scherzer going out and getting completely shelled in his 2 postseason games, being like, it's going to be weird if he gets a ring for this. But I don't know. It's where the show. It's bittersweet. I wish we could see Jacob deGrom doing it at the highest level right now because
I wish he could be with us.
Yeah, we should be with us, of course. But anywhere, like, see him be an X factor in a World Series run would be cool. And just the fact that so many Mets fans have these tweets. Again, our least favorite bald analyst was saying it himself too, that this team has no chance to do anything. Him saying this is like a slap in the face to the Mets. This team is good. That organization is really good, and it's just there's no ill will.
I'll tell you this, guys. Me and James, we talk a lot. You might not agree with us all the time, but boy, oh boy, do we spit some facts sometimes. And we told you, like, when that happened, we're like, this is a good Rangers team. Like, this isn't this. I know they lost 100 games a couple years ago. This isn't a bad team. They've got the makings to be a good one. Made the World Series. That's probably exceeded expectations by most. But just listen to what we say sometimes. Listen to what we say. We're not going to be the people that are going to be up in arms and telling you, oh, we hate this guy, F him, do this, do that, all that stuff. We have pretty sane takes for a pretty good reason. And I'm honest, James is even more sane than me. I still come out with some hate every once in a while on here. But that's why you got to listen to the Mets'd podcast. We're going to give you the hot takes that are actually true, not like some of these other people who get a big voice on a national stage. But James, got anything else to talk about here?
That's it. Just really excited for this World Series.
Yep, really excited, guys. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Make sure you follow us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to the New York Mets YouTube channel so you can see the video version of this. And if you're listening, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Odyssey, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. Follow James on Twitter at
James_Shiano.
And me at GiraffeNeckMark with a C. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. We will catch you on the next episode of the Mets'd podcast. Might be from Arizona.
Might be.
Peace out.
Peace out. See you guys next time.